Will Smith's injury. When did that actually occur, and how long do you expect him to be out at this point?
Last week there. I guess sometimes here every now and then, if it's somebody we anticipate to be out for a while, then I'll give a little bit more specific. And it's a knee injury. I'm not going to get into the actual specifics of the knee injury, but he's out indefinitely. We're just gonna see somewhere down the road if they're able to come back. If he isn't, then so be it. So it's just really indefinite. It's really where we're at right now with him. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is.
It's just a knee scope that he had.
I'm not going to get into specifics of what the actual surgery. It's a knee injury, and he's out indefinitely.
Any closer, Coach, to mentioning true freshmen of those guys who might get on the field?
Yeah, I think right now we Jeremy Peters is a guy going to be playing. I think we have I'm going to say 2 or 3 other guys. Dante Duff will be a guy that's going to play, and Damian King. Cam Jones, guess we're just probably go ahead and Jawan Wells. Those are the 4 to 5 guys there that right now that we're saying that we're going to go ahead and play those guys. There could be maybe one guy we may hold off here as far as after a game or two, but those are the 4 or 5 we right now are strongly considering that they're going to play this football season.
What's Peters shown you in the kick return game specifically?
He has good hands, good running ability, tough runner. Does a lot of good things there as far as a smart football player for a freshman. He's very, very intelligent about the game. So we're going to put him as at our kickoff returner on the one side, and he's definitely going to be a guy that's going to play for us on special teams, and we'll see how it fits as far as going, on defense. We'll see.
Is there anything to Dez being ahead of DJ on that depth chart, or have you figured out how you're going to split those carries between those 2 guys?
It's kind of like it is, yeah. And I think it's going to be a week-to-week deal. Next week it might go back the other way. So that's going to be continued. They're both going to play, and I guess there's some small technicalities who's starting, who's not starting, but they're both going to play a significant amount of football, and we're glad that we have them both on our football team and ready to play for the 2015 season.
How much are you expecting out of Zach Parker this season? I know he's a guy that made plays for you at times last year.
Well, we anticipate Zach to really do a whole lot. We're going to be our starting punt returner going into the first ball game. Then we're going to have him doing a lot of things on offense. We think he's really improved in a lot of areas, and we anticipate him to be a big-time player for us, and we want him to make a lot of plays, so he's going to have a lot of opportunities.
I heard that Devontae Brown had a pretty good scrimmage the other night. I mean, why did you want to move him from linebacker to begin with, and what has he shown you in that move?
Well, I think he's got a lot more speed, and I think the linebacker position wasn't able to grasp it probably as fast, but we also saw he has good speed, can run and do a lot of good things. We're a little bit short on the edge rusher, and he has that ability to do that, so that's why we ended up just moving him to defensive end. I think he's going to be a good football player.
Corbin Jackson was another move defensively on the back end from corner to safety, the new spur position. So what about Corbin allowed him to make that move?
Well, he was a very, very intelligent young man, very tough, good size. He's has that linebacker built, but he also has a safety, but he has the ability to cover people, and that's what that position as far as the spur has been able to do a lot of different things. He can rush the passer, he can cover people, and so that position suited him very, very well. So we're happy to have him.
Where are you guys at right now in terms of your preparation for Delaware State and, as far as proceeding toward the home opener?
This week we're preparing for them, so we're kind of really putting about 2 weeks in them. We don't know exactly what they're going to do offensively. We don't know exactly what they're going to do defensively. So we're kind of preparing for a little bit of everything and giving us a chance to prepare for that. And again, we see a whole lot of different defenses as far throughout the season, so we're not going to be totally shocked. Offensively, you really don't know exactly what they're going to do either. So again, we're just kind of doing a little bit of things, and that's why we're doing it for 2 weeks. So we'll be ready to play on September 5th.
Watching a lot of Louisville tape, I think, with their offensive coordinator came from there. Has that helped at all?
I mean, you got a general idea. Again, he still may do his own thing in that nature. A person there was the head coach was actually the special teams coordinator there at the Louisville. And then also I think at Youngstown State has some background there and all that. So we're kind of putting bits and pieces of all different types of schools that they have been in before, the head coach, the offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator, and putting that all together. So there's a lot of work for our coaches to kind of gather up a whole lot of things, and we got to narrow it down and make sure you don't give a whole lot to our players, but we'll be prepared.
When you look at the season as a whole, I mean, have you ever been in a situation where you've had to play 4 straight road games, and what kind of challenge is that as a coaching staff to try to keep guys fresh in that sort of grind there?
No, I have not been associated with anything as far as 4 road games in a row. Again, we always have that attitude about doesn't matter who you play, where you play, and all that. There's still 100 yards as far as your goal line to goal line. 52.5 yards are wide, and so on and so forth. So our guys going to be ready to play. We're excited about the opportunity. We're playing some very, very good opponents. So it's going to be great recognition for our whole football program, and we're ready for the challenge.
What is the playoff berth from last year? What has that done to kind of galvanize the program in terms of recruiting and just everything in general?
Well, I think overall from the football program, it's just given us a lot more national exposure. People recognize us a lot better as we have been into homes. We've been into high schools. It's been exciting. The people have, they now talk about more about where we're at and what we're doing, and have done some good things of that nature. So it's made us to get into some homes, can be very competitive against some of the recruits that are going against some of the Conference USA, Sun Belt schools, and so on and so forth. And people now know and recognize our institution, but they also recognize our football program can't compete against anybody in the country. Beating the #1 team in the country, obviously Coastal's in our conference, but still being the #1 team in the country, that gives a lot of exposure for us. And then beating JMU, playing very, very good against Villanova and all those type of things. So it has helped us in recruiting, and I think we're continuing to have that happen.
What, I guess the biggest concerns after a couple weeks of camp, and the biggest things that you've been happy with at this point?
Things that I have not been pleased with?
Well, the biggest thing, first the biggest concerns, and then what have you been most happy with throughout this training?
I think the things that we continue to do is we gotta find some depth at the offensive line. Will be one area there, and making sure where we're at and all that. And we always trying to find 7 to 8 guys that we feel good about. And they're going to have to probably play multiple positions, meaning they could be a guard, they could be a tackle, and somebody may have to go to center, all those type of things. So we've trained a lot of people doing that. I can't sit here and say that we're all set in stone at that point in time right now. We're pretty good with our 5, but after that, we're still trying to mend that all together. So that's a little bit of a concern, I guess, as we continue to go on, is having the depth at offensive line. I'm very, very pleased that we have come along with the wide receiver position, is feeling that, we lost quite a few guys there as far as with Henderson being a steady guy, and some other guys there too with depth, and everybody else is really only with Dante and Petey, really the only ones that really had some experience. And so we were trying to figure out who we're going to have as our 3rd, 4th, and 5th guy, trying to find 4 to 5 receivers, and I feel very, very good about having a little more depth, even though they haven't played a whole lot of game, as in B.J. Farrell, Cal Carrington, another young man named Marquise Fitzgerald, along with Dante and Petey and those guys. I think we're going to have 4 to 5 guys that we feel good about putting in the football game. So I feel good about that. On the defensive side of the ball, I think we finding pretty good depth there in our D-line. I think we got 6, 7 guys in the D-line that's going to be good. I think we're solid in 4 to 5 linebackers. Our secondary, I think we got 4 to 5 corners that we feel pretty good about being able to plug in there. In the safety positions, I think we still got to solidify some depth at that position there. But overall, I'm very pleased of where we're at this point in time as a football program and football team and going into the season. So we still got a lot of work to do, but we're heading in the right direction.
Glad you mentioned BJ, because I noticed that he was listed as a starter on this depth chart. I mean, does Dante have a chance to still take that position back heading into the Delaware State game?
Oh yeah. I mean, that's kind of where we're at today. Next week we'll continue to evaluate, and obviously I think we go into the next week's season. Next week's game, we'll see if we want to continue to evaluate that throughout the whole week, or we may make a decision right there at the beginning, and we can say, hey, BJ has earned that over this period of time. But Dante's in the mix. He's going to play and do all those things.
What's the thing that stood out to you the most about BJ in camp?
Great hands, being able to catch the ball in traffic, being able to catch the ball and make something after the catch. Really has a natural way of doing things of that nature at the receiver position. A physical player. I didn't know necessarily if he was going to be a physical player. Coach Brown's done a good job of getting our receivers to be a little bit more physical. That was one of the things that we talked about, and wanted to get a little bit more of that blocking and even just running routes. You can still be physical when you're running routes and those type of things there. So BJ has done a great job, a lot of improvement. Obviously last year he didn't even play any in the fall. He didn't really do anything in the spring either because he was injured. So this is really a whole lot of news. So it's very, very much so a surprise that he's come along this fast. I anticipate him to be in the mix, but maybe not this soon. as far as being one of the top guys as far as a receiver at this time.
Marquee matchup, FCS this weekend, Montana, North Dakota State. How much of that are you going to watch, if any?
Oh, I'll watch it. It's going to be a very interesting, tough football game, and two great football teams, and we're just blessed to have an opportunity to play one of them, at least on our schedule. Hope we'll get the other one down the road.
Because you guys had some issues with blocking with the receivers on screens at times last year, didn't you? And
We've had it all year long. I mean, the 3 or 4 years I've been here, that takes a lot of work. So I'm not saying that we have got that done even today. I think we've just been a little bit more physical, at least showing that we're able to do that compared to last year. Now we'll find out here once they play in a football game to see if that carries over in the game.